Hello, my friends. Today I am joined by someone who has dramatically inspired me for a long time, and now we have him in the studio. Known as the comeback coach, he is a thought leader, a pastor, entrepreneur. He has mentored millions of people. He has spoken all across the world, and I have today in my presence Mr. Tim Storey. Thank you for being here.
What a privilege to be here.
I'm so excited to have you in my presence.
We've been wanting to talk like this for a long time.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget, just a few months ago, I got into an Uber and the guy was like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I speak, I coach, I motivate." And he's like, "Do you know Tim Storey?" Like literally. And I'm like, "Well, I know of him and we have mutuals." And he's like,
Yes.
"He changed my life. He changed my life." And he went down this whole long story about you. And I'm like, that's what's up, man. That's legacy.
Yeah. I mean, what a privilege it is to have studied like both of us do, and then to think that we took our material and then God blessed us enough to share what we have learned to a lot of people.
Yeah. Did you just come out like this? Like, did you just wake up one day and you're like, I want to do this? Or
No, you know, the thing is, when I was a kid, I was always super curious. I was curious about life, and I teach that we learn in three primary ways: education, conversation, and observation. And as a child, I was an observationalist. So if I saw people doing something fantastic or original, it always got my attention. So I aspired to do things that were at least out of the ordinary since I was a kid.
And you grew up in Compton?
Compton, California. Yeah. But, you know, I think when a lot of people think that way, they think just of the inner city side of it. Mostly when you look at the movie King Richard that was played by my friend Will Smith, and he did such a great job in that movie. But to see the Williams sisters, how they came out of Compton and all that conflict, but so did Dr. Dre, so did Kendrick Lamar, and so did Tim Storey. I think some of the conflict and challenges that we faced, you know, you had to find a way up and out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like what we did.
You build that resilience. You absolutely do. And, you know, so many people are like, oh gosh, if you grow up in that toxic upbringing, or, you know, like, oh, it must be so difficult. And I've really learned in my upbringing to look at that as like a gift, truly, because you wouldn't be as strong as you are today, or able to probably coach or see people for how you see them with having that.
Little conflict sometimes challenges people in a big way, is what I say.
Yeah.
But for people like us that have been through pain and challenges, we can take a lot and then keep on stepping it up.
Stepping on. So tell me about your career. I mean,
Yeah.
my goodness, you're so humble, which I love. And I know why, because you've got God in you and you're a good man. But when did this all start? How did this start? Like, tell me about that.
So I think some things in life we decide, other things we discover. When I was in high school, I liked sports. So sports was what I was good at. In my senior year of high school, early senior year, I was already planning on going to USC, University of Southern California. Communications major, that was my thought. Then my friend who sat in front of me in math class had been reading a book about the life of Mother Teresa. So she was reading this book, and she said to me, Timmy, because that's what they called me back then, I think you would really like this book, because everybody knew that I was like kind to people and that, because I was really into my Christian faith even at an early age. And so I go, okay. So one day in math class, probably 2 weeks later, she was reading the book again, and she goes, finished, and she went like this and passed it to me. And she said, give it back to me in 2 weeks. And I respect her so much that I just took the book and I read it within 2 weeks. As I'm reading this book about Mother Teresa, a lady who's a nun and a teacher, hears the cries of the orphans, and she changes her life to help people. I got emotional. And I'm a senior in high school who's an athlete. And I said, this is me. This is me. I'm supposed to help people. So I went to the guidance counselor in the school who liked me. And he said, Tim, I'm going to tell you something right now. He said, I am a Christian, and I see the way you are such a leader on this campus. He goes, you should go to seminary for a season, and then let's see what happens after that. So that's what I did. I went to seminary to be a humanitarian.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. And then, so going through seminary, you said you were always a believer. You always felt that. Were you raised
since I was a child? Yeah.
Were you raised in a Christian home?
Yeah. Since I was 4 years of age. So my parents took us to church, because church was a place of hope when you have like a lot of conflict around you. So we had 7 people, but I want you to really think about this, process this. 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment to start, okay? And so that's a lot. Mm-hmm. So church was a beautiful place to go and think beyond and learn beyond and grow beyond. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was taking to church, and I was very into Sunday school starting at age 4.
Mm-hmm. So cute. I can imagine you. Oh my God. That's so good. Do you think, like, I love how you phrase that, first of all, of like going to that place to think different. You're in this small little spot.
Yes.
And I can deeply relate growing up with a single mom in a tiny, tiny little house. And when I was first taken to a non-denominational Sunday school, that's really where I felt like a sense of peace, and I could kind of escapism, if you will. I could escape what was happening over here and the toxicity and all that. Back to seminary though. So after seminary, what did you do? And this is in LA, right? Or where is this?
So I was living in LA. So we went from Compton, then to East LA. Then we moved to a place called Whittier, California. So we were moving along. So my father was a steel worker at Bethlehem Steel. My mother worked at Winchell's Donut Shop. But we had hardship early because, bless my father's heart, he passed in a car accident. He was going through a green light, and a man ran a red light and hit him. And I felt so bad for the man, if you can imagine that, because the man had to later come over to our house and apologize for this. He just wasn't paying attention. But that created a real struggle for us. But I felt like I needed to get out of LA to really go after my calling. And so going to seminary in Florida is where I went.
Okay.
It was a school that probably had about 1,400 students. But at that time, I never saw myself as a speaker. Okay. There was no such thing as a life coach,
Right.
Thought leader. They didn't like talk in terms of things like that. I just wanted to learn about ways to help people. And as I was there, midway through my freshman year, I caught fire. And I created a curriculum to help inner city kids. And on my own, I got 2 of my friends as my team, and I started talking inner city teachers into letting me come into the classes and motivate them. Isn't that wild?
That is so wild. How old were you?
I was like 18.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, so you caught fire.
I caught fire.
And then from there, was it like, hey, can you come speak here? Or what did that
Yeah, I mean, I caught fire. And what I mean by that is I realized that I was creating this message, and I've always been very good at hooks. Like sometimes you got to get left before you get right.
Yeah.
Or there's a difference between a good idea and a God idea.
Yeah,
right?
You are so good.
Or utmost God did not call you
Yeah.
to be an almost person.
Yeah.
So I was already like spitting lines at 18, and I created this whole system of living up in a sometimes down world. So my whole idea to inner city kids was, it looks like a sometimes down world, but I'm going to teach you steps to live up. And when I say it caught fire, the teachers got so excited, they started saying like, hey, we know inner city teachers all over Florida that would love to have you. So 18, 19, I'm traveling around and hitting all these school systems in non-religious schools and like creating this movement.
Yeah.
A movement.
A movement.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. At first I was thinking, because I say catch fire, like when my spirit catches fire
Yeah.
and I'm like ready to go and do so. But this is like, no, it literally created a movement.
A movement. No
Oh,
doubt about it.
My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is what I've really noticed about you. Even in your speaking, you're so good. If you haven't listened to him, you need to listen. Like, you are an artist. And I think because you have that artistry to you,
Yes.
it's like, it's so cool how you're able to do your phrases, your words, your sayings, and then you put it with like practical stuff. And then it's like this masterpiece watching you speak. Did that come natural? Or, do you realize how you're set apart? Like
So,
how much that's set apart?
Number one, thank you for saying this.
Yeah.
So it is very intentional.
Yeah.
Because whenever I saw what would be called a motivational speaker in the late 80s and the 90s, it was the man or the woman that was always over the top. And with these 5 principles, they were going to change your life in this short amount of time. My strength was I studied comedians. So I would study people like even Chevy Chase in the early days, Steve Martin. I would later study Jerry Seinfeld. I would then study Richard Pryor. And because there was a pace that the comedians have that these other speakers did not have. So I never studied traditional inspirational motivational speakers. That's why I sound like none of them. And I still don't study them.
Brilliant.
I don't want to see.
Brilliant.
I might read one of my friend's books, like if
Yeah.
I might read an Ed Milet book,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that I'm going to watch all his talks or Tony Robbins or any of the other people that are great. Because I want to stay very pure in the way I do my art. So I'm breaking out art. There's no doubt about it.
This speaks to me immensely.
Yeah.
Immensely. I was in a meeting recently doing stuff for a book, and they're like, who do you want to be like? And who do you want to? And I'm like, nobody. There's really no one, because I love creativity, the art. I will bring the Holy Spirit in, even in the personal development industry when they're saying like, oh, just calm it down, Emily.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's really not, like, because I feel like, and that's a superpower for you to be that dialed into your heart set, your mindset to go, I don't want to be like the rest. I want to go my own way.
Yeah, because I have a different agenda. I think that to me, the agenda to so many is how do we monetize this message?
That's right.
And so I'm creating a curriculum, and then I now monetize and make money from it. Now, my thinking as a Mother Teresa follower and a person who had Nelson Mandela come to see me speak, could you imagine that? I was very, very young, and they marched him in as I was speaking to 10,000 people, and they said, he wanted to watch you. I mean, come on.
Come on.
You talk about confirmation, and for him to say to me, you're next. I mean, that's powerful stuff. So for me, whenever we started getting blessed, like you and me, financially, that was never the thought. The thought was serving people, caring about people, lifting them up, getting them out. But God blesses what he possesses, so monetary things started coming, but that was never the goal. And I think it's the goal for too many people nowadays.
I do too. And I know that God knows the motives of our hearts.
Yeah.
And when, and we are motivated people who want to win, but I do believe, like, when I ever go in that lane of just all about the ROI, the money, it feels off. And so I wonder for you, like this career, like, I mean, you were just talking to Oprah. You've literally worked with the greatest talent in the world.
Yes.
How have you stayed so even keel? Like you're just so calm, cool, collected. Like, has there been ups and downs with that? Like, what advice could you give?
I would say not with that, because I think for me, with Hollywood and Christianity, the guy who broke it open was Pat Boone. Pat Boone was known for wearing white shoes, okay? And he was a big heartthrob in the 50s, and then he became an actor. And he's the one that started bringing mega stars to his house for a Bible study, including people like Rock Hudson, people, mega stars. It's John Wayne even, the John Wayne. Yeah. So then when I was asked by Diane Cannon, who was married to Cary Grant, to do a Hollywood Bible study at her house, I was 31 years of age. So all of a sudden I started hanging around Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, James Caan, Elliot Gould, Charlton Heston was my buddy, Vidal Sassoon, Lee Iacocca. These people mentored me. I was 31 years of age. So you got a kid formerly from Compton, California, now the life coach to the stars. Not 3 stars. Like people say, like, I got 3 people following me who did
or they work with
things
one
a long time
one day,
ago.
one time they design one and they're like, I'm a celebrity stylist or trainer.
Yes.
He's over here like, no, this is
No,
like
we were rolling deep from the beginning. And I knew, and Magic Johnson said this to me. He said, if you had 10 of us, Tim, that'd be impressive. The fact that we all go to you, that's a calling. So I know with what I do, and even the people I was with yesterday, I was with 2 of the biggest stars in the world yesterday. It's a calling. I could not have manipulated myself into this position. So it is a calling. So I want to walk worthy of the calling, which is Ephesians 4:1.
Oh gosh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So that's where I come from.
So if someone's listening and they're like, how do I find my calling? What tips do you give on that?
I got easy advice on that. You
me.
want to hear it?
Yes, I do.
Your calling calls you. So when you were a kid, your calling was calling you. It calls you through what you desire, what you've seen, what you've observed. When I was a kid, I felt bad when I'd see handicapped people walking across the street struggling. Or if I saw somebody that looked like they were going through a difficult time, or even if I saw people fighting in a supermarket. I truly, anytime I saw somebody that seemed like they were in any form of a struggle, my heart went out to a form of a struggle. So isn't that interesting that was the calling me? Okay, now, why do we not listen to this calling that's calling? We live in such a loud world that's full of distraction. So how do I find my calling, Tim Storey? 3 ways. You got to stop, you got to look, and you got to listen. Because my sheep, they know my voice. And so for all of us that are even in the studio, because we have amazing people in the studio, is that we all find our calling by stopping, looking, and listening.
Oh, so good. My heart just is like twitching. I say like, what breaks your heart?
Yeah.
And the thing that breaks your heart is like worth fighting for. Like when it comes to my purpose, like that's how I know. That's like my calling card. Like it breaks my heart, but it royally pisses me off that I want to do something about it.
Yes.
You know?
But I think that's the calling, calling you. So it's an interesting thing. So my doctorate is in world religion. So in the Greek, there's a word for the word calling. It is the word ekklego, which means specific calling. So this is what's so important for us to understand. That you are not supposed to be Brene Brown. And I am not supposed to be, let's say, Les Brown.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You are fearfully and wonderfully made to be your fantastic self. So I have to now say, okay, God, I'm stopping, I'm looking to you, and I'm listening. And God loves you so much that he will speak to you about your calling. And your calling is specific, it's unique, but it's supernatural. See, what we're called to do, we cannot do in the natural. So how could I take credit for all these fun things we get to do?
Right.
Because I'm not doing it on natural energy, natural strength. I'm flowing in the supernatural.
Yeah.
God's super on my natural.
Yeah. So good. Oh, yeah. I feel it. I feel absolutely. Oh, my goodness. Tim Storey, I feel like I just need to take my notebook out right here. With you working with these celebs and stuff, like what? Okay, I'm just gonna go there. So I'm a girl from a small town in Minnesota.
Yes.
And I moved to LA like 7 years ago. And everyone's like, be careful, because you either go to the dark side or you go to the light side. And, it's a day by day thing, and we grow our faith with intention and all that good stuff. But I wonder for you, like being in LA where there's a lot of mixed messaging, a lot of spiritual stuff.
So much.
How have you stayed like the rock in the river? I feel like things flow around you, but you're the rock in the river.
For a lot of years. I think part of it is the people that I have around me. You interviewed my friend Jason Waller recently. He is a real friend and younger than me who will tell me the truth. I have older friends like Smokey Robinson who will call me out on things. So I think that whenever some of my older powerful friends and younger ones saw that, Tim, this could really get you caught up if you're not careful. You need to really check yourself on this. I've always been willing to check myself. So the interesting thing for me is, because I went into LA with good motives, but the dark world will offer you anything to get you on their side.
100%.
And so I think I was offered more than the average person. Like even me as a person who never led with looks. Like when people started thinking like, he's getting handsome, like maybe when I was like 18, 19. I never thought that way because I'm more of a person that's into humor and compassion.
Yeah.
But as a single guy, because I became divorced at like 37, as a single guy, all of a sudden, all this was coming at me. And there was people that I'd seen on TV, in movies, and all these things. So thank goodness that I really had some amazing human beings around me that challenged me and checked me.
Challenge you, check you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever, you got to be so strong-willed, even from speaking in your content, to not succumb to the worldly ways.
Yes.
And a lot of my friends that are believers, we're constantly trying to encourage each other, and things can get caught on you. Like I feel like when you're saving people or spreading the good word, the devil doesn't like that, right? And
Yes.
he's going to come try to steal, kill, and destroy.
Right.
And I just feel like, you are, because of your messaging, Tim, you're able to reach people that other people cannot reach, which is such a gift. It's your calling.
Yes.
But have you felt ever like you've got to armor up even more? Do you need to go to solitude to restore?
I think no doubt about it. And that's
Yeah.
a great question. So I honor the Billy Grahams who from beginning to the end of a 45-minute sermon was Jesus. Okay. I honor so many people that have done great things, like Chuck Smith, and they did the movie, Jesus Revolution, of the movement of what took place in the 60s and the 70s that turned so many people around. I'm very much that guy, but I was also called to have a wide funnel that seemed very inclusive, but when you come closer to me, I am a 100% sold out Jesus man. And this is the thing that I think has been unusual that's working for me. It is working. So whether I'm speaking to the US Congress or working with our US presidents or working with world leaders, it blows them away because they'll say, we thought we were getting traditional clergy with the certain type of talk.
Right.
Praise God.
Yeah.
That's not what I need to do. I'm the wide funnel guy who could sit in a studio for 3 weeks straight with Kanye West and Pharrell Williams and just chop it up with them. But yet, at the end of their session, they want to go all into the Jesus talk because they had been both raised in the church. So that is part of my calling of the wider funnel that brings you into the Jesus style. I'm all about the Jesus style.
I love it. It's really encouraging for me. It really is. Like it brings me to tears. It really has. Because when I started my career, I would have countless people be like, just tone it down on the Jesus, And I know my room. I'm not going to go in and, whatever. But to see the way that you do it and stay in your truth, like I know that's why God is rewarding you because you're faithful.
Yeah, but it's some awesome things like if you take 10X, the 10X conference with Grant Cardone, who I was just with last week, we just shot a really great show that went an hour and 43 minutes. And he talked a lot about faith, about Jesus, and it was an amazing conversation because that's not always how it seems like he comes off in life.
Right. But
I remember at not this last conference, but the one before, there was, so many people. There was like 10,300. Before I was going to go out, Rick Ross was right behind me. And I'd just been talking to Rick Ross and the rapper, and I was about to come out, and Grant Cardone literally put his hand on my chest and he said, "Take us to church." So what's interesting to me is that I believe because people are made in the image of God, that we can remind people of the person they're supposed to be. Yeah. And this is very deep what I just said.
It is very.
Because it's easy to say, they're them and we're us.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there are some extremes of people that are really anti-Christ. But don't forget, they were still made in the image of God. They just went wrong.
Yeah.
I love to remind people of who they were created to be.
Yes.
That's what I'm about. That's why I'm going to drop some God bombs on you. The Holy Spirit's going to show up in my meetings. Even if I don't even say one thing about God, I'm in these big meetings and people will cry and say, "What was that?
Yeah.
What was that?" That's God showing up for his guy.
Yeah, it is. Everything you're saying is deeply resonating. I'm constantly reminding people you are knitted together in the womb.
Yes.
You're set apart. The number of hairs on your head.
Yes.
And no matter what people's beliefs are, it's like there's two fundamental truths. That and God has laid out our whole lives, right? Like, know these things.
Yes.
And lean into them. Oh my goodness. Hold up. Are you ready to take your brand to another level? And maybe you might be thinking, brand? I don't have a brand. Oh yes, you do have a brand. And chances are, if you're listening to this right now, you also have a message that you are ready to get out into the world. Well, if that is you and you want to take things to a whole nother level, when let's just face it, it's required in 2023 if you want to stand out in a noisy market, then I want to personally invite you to the It Factor Bootcamp Branding Edition. Now, this is not just any boot camp. What this is a couple days of you away from your crazy busy life, and we have curated 2 days of absolute brand integration. We are going to be helping you identify your brand message. We're going to be showing you how to create next level content, have a plan that matches whatever it is that you're selling and who you're selling it to. We're bringing in some of the best PR people in the world to teach you how to self-promote and then also how to stand out and to really create that halo effect, what I like to teach on. There's so many other details happening, but what this is an intimate 2 days with myself and my partner Jake, and I promise you, by the time you leave, you will feel equipped and totally ready to take your brand to another level. If this sounds like something you're interested in, then join me in Southern California towards the end of July. Send me an Instagram right now at It's Emily, ITSEMILY. Send me the word bootcamp and I will send you all the details. But act fast because we are releasing this week and we are limiting it to 50 spots so we can intimately work with you and also network. So if this is something you're into, go to my Instagram now and send me the word bootcamp. Before you get on stage, I have a lot of people that want to speak in their career that listen to this. I actually want to know, like, what is your process before you go give a keynote or go work with Oprah or these people? What does that look like?
Yeah. I don't really write messages for like people. Like, I'm not writing a message to say, I'm writing this message to wow them, to really take them to some certain place.
Yeah.
I more am listening a lot to culture, what's trending, what people are going through. Okay. So that's how I came up with It's Time for Your Comeback in 1989 is when I first started writing it. Wrote my first book, 1991, called It's Time for Your Comeback. And then that's what made me really famous to the world, where they started calling me the comeback coach to the stars when I started helping people like Robert Downey Jr. But when I was studying the comeback, it wasn't like, I'm going to teach this and they're going to love it. Mm-hmm. I just started noticing that everyone was talking about their setback.
Right.
Like, I got a divorce and a setback, having problems with my child, a setback. I'm having problems with my health, a setback. So I started thinking, what should they do? Well, don't sit in your setback. Watch how easy this is. Don't settle in your setback. And by golly, don't cement yourself in the setback. And then it came to me one day, while you're feeling the sting of your setback, God is already preparing your comeback. And then I was off to the races.
Oh, off to the so fire.
Yeah.
So fire.
But I'm doing it from listening to conversations.
Yeah.
And then I'm cooking it up in my kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I go try it on smaller crowds. Oh. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are taken to this stuff.
Oh my, this is profound what he is saying right now. And this, I feel I am so blessed to be in your presence, truly.
No, but
and
same.
It's just
to you.
Thank you. I recently wrote a speech and it came through a lot of prayer and, everyone's process is different. But I kept telling my team, because they're like, "Hey, you ready to do the media? Are you ready to do this? So the speaker reel, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I got to run the play. I have to try it out, because if it doesn't change,
you got to try it out.
It doesn't change people in the room. If it's not good enough for me. And what else I need to try out, and what else I do is I stay in that room when the people are putting the chairs away and I'm talking to that last person,
Yes.
I'm like, I put my antennas on and I'm collecting the data from them of what hit for you, what made sense, what didn't. And I think that's what makes, good people great.
No doubt about it. So I like this. So number one, I think that both of us put a lot of time in research. And I also have researchers, people that I pay to do research for me. So let's say if I don't know a lot about the metaverse, I'll go to 3 researchers and say for the next month, I want literally like 200 pages of what the metaverse is and where it's going. What are NFTs?
Yeah.
What really is crypto? Because I want to know. As a person who's a world leader, I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay? So I do the research. But now I've compiled this research, and a good comedian, before he does a big special, let's say if Jerry Seinfeld's going to do a Netflix special, he may practice it 100 times in small comedy stores. That's what I do.
So good.
Oh, yeah. I like speaking to 8 people, 13 people who look like they're not paying attention.
Yep.
I love it.
Oh, and you
I
run
love
it.
it.
You run it, you test it.
I'm testing it.
Yeah.
I'm testing it. So by the time I get to 34,000 people, I'm like, you guys don't even have a choice because this has been tested. I'm about to drop a bomb on you.
Yes. This is so good.
Like, I'm not even joking.
This is artistry right here.
Yeah, so I'll tell
Yeah.
you a fun one. I was about to do a conference, and Lewis House was in the back, who I consider one of my real friends. And Lewis looked at me, he goes, oh man, it's about to get crazy. I go, why? He goes, I see that look in your eye. And I said, yeah, we'll see what happens. He goes, oh no, don't try that on me. I know you. And I tell you, I put right foot down, left foot down, and it was over with. Because I'm literally taking 10 hours of research and dropping it into a 30-minute message. It's coming out of my pores. I'm not trying to like come up with points.
Yeah,
or
it's in
trying
you.
to be cute and
Yeah.
then go, ah.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
I'm just coming at you.
Yeah. Yeah. This is truth. This is like this is what sets you apart.
I'm bobbing and weaving.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, bam.
Yeah, Shazam.
Bam.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay, so this work ethic, this gifting, this mindset, like, is that how you end up with Oprah? Like you literally mentored her, didn't you? Or you?
I don't want to say that. I
Yeah.
want to say that we are brother and sister. We are best of friends.
That's beautiful. It's even better.
And so that means I learned from her and she learned from me.
What's that like? Like,
Well, she's like one of the smartest ladies I know. So Oprah, myself, Gail King is also my great friend. So Oprah's probably tribe, 3 best friends. Those are all my people. Diane Hudson, I just talked to yesterday. That was Oprah's executive producer for 23 years. So they've adopted me as their brother for the last many years. So we have great talks. We have great dinners. I get to do the Oprah cruises. I get to do the
Yeah.
Oprah specials. I get to go eat at her house, and she has great food.
yeah, I bet.
I get to hang out with her in very unusual spots and dialogue about life. So I think that she's learned some good things from me, and I learn a lot of great things from her. That's how I like to frame it. But to me, those things are never the goal.
Yeah.
I think that is just the placement that I need to be to grow even more, to touch the people that I'm helping. I needed to be around those types of mindsets.
Bigger. Yeah. Bigger. God puts those people in your life and they think differently. The connections, all the stuff that comes from it's invaluable. And you condense time frames. Like, that's why, you mentor so many people, and same with me. It's like you're helping people condense time frames, but also with the right network. And it also, I think, can take you back if you're not with the right people with the wrong motives.
Yeah, so if I can backtrack to that, because what happens to people then they say, well, I don't know Richard Branson,
Right.
or I don't know, Gary Vee. Well, maybe you're not supposed to. Read their book, listen to their podcast, and you can learn from them and grow from them
Yep.
and see what you want to use and not want to use.
Yeah.
But I'm very much like into being original.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing that drew Oprah to me so closely, because Quincy Jones had told her over 9 times over a period of years, you have got to get to know Tim Storey. That you will find there is nobody like him in this space, not even near. And this is Quincy Jones, who lives in this gigantic house in Bel Air,
Yeah.
who worked with Frank Sinatra all the way to Michael Jackson, who was part of the whole We Are the World movement. This is Q. This is Quincy Jones. So I was around him since my late 20s. So he was always up in Oprah's stuff, telling her, you never met a guy like him. So when Oprah first invited me to her house, she laughed and she said, Tim, he wouldn't leave me alone, but he was so correct. And to me, that's God.
That is.
That's like God put it in on the heart of people. And then for Oprah to say to me, I feel led to open up my world to you.
Yeah.
So imagine what she has opened for me.
Yeah.
Just imagine for a
Yeah.
second.
Wow.
Imagine the calls she's made, the things she's done, the opportunities she's opened for me because of seeing that the gift and the message can help people's lives.
So good. People are portals. And when people get to experience, especially people that have been there, they have a high emotional intelligence. They know it's real. They know it's fake. They know who's pretending. They know who's not. Like.
I like what you said. People are portals, and it's
Yeah.
not always like well-known people.
Right.
Like some of the people that have come to me that led me to the biggest movie stars in the world, and I won't name their names, have been their assistants. Like it was the driver. It was the lady who ran the guy's house that would say, so-and-so wants to meet you. And I said, okay, say that again. Because it was one of the biggest actors we got going, and it's a young guy. I said, say that again. He wants to meet you. Can you come to his house? This is his number. So you never know who's going to be the portal. You don't know
never
how
know.
you don't know how they're dressed up.
Has there been periods in your career where you're like, oh, this feels like a dry spell? Or has it always just been flowing?
I think it's not a dry spell to me. It's a season of silence. Ecclesiastes 3 says there's times and seasons for everything, a time to be silent and a time to speak. The time of silence is a time where God will always take you back to a place of a whisper. So there are times where I feel that even though there's a lot of opportunities, that God's calling me to a solitary place. He's saying, come back to the holy ground, get out of the battleground. Because the bigger you get, as you know it's happening in your life, the bigger you get, you're going to get pulled on nonstop.
Yeah.
So life is like a battleground. So you got to go to holy ground, battleground, holy ground, battleground. So during the pandemic, that was a time that I would consider a season of silence, that I was just getting ready for this phase of Tim's story. And I even told my own son, because I begged my son to live with me because I'm a single man. And
I don't know how that.
And-
I don't know how you're a single man, but anyways, go on. Okay.
we can get into
Yeah.
that. So I begged my son to live with me, and I said to him, about a year into the pandemic, I said to him, something is about to happen in my life that's going to be next level, and this is why I needed to just stay in this season of silence. Because even during the pandemic, people were asking me to do stuff like, get out, wear a mask, but
Yeah.
we still need you, that
Yeah.
kind of idea.
Yeah.
But I stayed home and I studied and I prayed and I did worship music, but it was for this season that I'm in right now, because I'm in a very powerful season I don't know how long it's going to last. But if this powerful season starts to slow down, I'm okay with that. Okay? Because at the same time, I then want to help you and I want to help other people that are coming up. Because I have learned some things along the way.
Something. Just a few things. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You want to talk about why I'm single?
Yeah.
Ask me the question.
Yeah. Tell me how. Like, how are you single? Why?
Let me think about that one. We have people.
Like, you've been married, though. You have 2 kids.
Yes, I was married to an amazing woman.
Yeah.
She has a doctorate degree, college professor,
Smarty. Okay.
smart lady.
Yeah.
And I think we should have just dated and been best friends. Like night and day when it came to marriage. Because we're 2 good Christian kids.
Yeah.
We get into this marriage and we're in it like 3 years and we're like, wow, we are so different.
Yeah.
Like my life has become so public and she likes to stay home. But it lasted 11 years. Her father is a well-known man and he took a walk with me and he said, it doesn't look like this is working. And he says, Tim, I love you so much. I'd rather see you guys get out while you can bounce back.
Yeah.
Okay? And some would disagree with that. And some think you should just stay in even if you're miserable forever. But that's up to them. So, but that was one of the most difficult things in my life because divorce is, what's this? Divided force.
Oh.
D-force. Took me 10 years to get through it. Ow. Each divided force. That's why I'm still single.
Yeah, because you're just healing. You don't want to do it again.
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to it. So,
But you got to find the right person.
yeah.
And the person needs to understand your calling, I feel. And even if it's not their calling, but they've got to be able to support it.
Yes. And many people that approach me are more about seeing the excitement of my type of life and thinking that they want to join into the excitement. But you're right. I really need I desire, how about that?
Yeah, I desire.
More of a partner, a friend, somebody that's in alignment to my assignment that God gave me.
Amen.
That's what I'm open to.
This is so accurate.
But I've only been open to it, like, let's say the last year.
Okay. Well, simmer down, single ladies, right now. Okay. No, that's such a beautiful statement that you make. I believe, like, especially someone like you on stages, it's very, and you're transforming people.
Yes.
And it's like, that's so attractive. And then not only that, you're like mega successful and all the things, right?
Right.
And so you just have to pray, like, the right person needs to come into my life. The motives matter.
Yes.
You know? And I said, because I was single for like 4 years, and I said, listen, if they're not like in alignment with my assignment, there's no way.
Yeah.
Because God's calling on my life is too big.
But I also say that I see women in a different way than a lot of men do.
Oh.
Because of my mother raising me since I was 10, and then my 3 older sisters, I have such a respect for women. And you can see I'm a good listener,
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
and I'm very present. I really learned that by being the youngest by 6 years, 7 years to the other sister, 8 years to the other sister. I learned a lot about like women and what they go through, and so I never saw people as a means to an end.
Yeah.
Or that's how I see things. Yeah.
What do you think your it factor is?
Maybe you can tell me. What do you think? Because I think maybe I have a blind spot in that area.
Oh, gosh, you have a lot of it. I mean, for sure, your it factor is your ability to be an artist and
Okay.
and listen to the voice of God. You have somehow managed to stay in your own lane and not be the echo in the echo chamber of the personal development world, of
Yes.
even the pastor world, to be quite honest.
Zero.
You have literally listened to the voice of God and you followed that obedience, which is not easy to do.
I don't want to be any of those guys.
You don't,
Most of
yeah.
those big preachers are my buddies,
Yeah.
and I've spoken in all their churches. I've been to 78 countries, largest churches in the world. There's not one church that I have ever wanted to speak at that I've not spoken at. I don't want to be any of them. Thank God for them all,
Yeah.
for their styles, how they
Totally.
do things. I don't want any of that. And I don't even, on the quote unquote secular side, I don't want to be any of those guys. That's why I don't hire any of their people.
Yeah.
Because there are people always come to us and say, if I did it for him, imagine what I could do for you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's definitely your it factor, and your ability to communicate with people. Like, you have such a heart and you see people. You
Yeah.
see people.
I see people.
Whether it's someone with a lot of notoriety and a lot of followers, or it's your cab driver. Like, and that to me is like, I pray to always have that.
That's probably why the guy told you about me, who was
100%.
the guy, because I probably talked to him. So I'll tell you a mind-blowing thing, okay?
Yeah.
Like, whether it's a kid at Starbucks who gives me hot tea, and then I go, you were really good when you took my order. I was? Yeah, you were. And then the kid said to me just a few minutes ago, you look kind of familiar. I go, you got your phone with you? Yeah, pull it out. Looked at Tim Storey official. He goes, yo, this is crazy. I follow you. I go, well, you're looking at me. I said, if you need something, DM me. They get shocked. The men, because I don't go calling the girls.
Yeah.
The young guys, the older guys, that's who I'm after. I want to stir them up. And so many times I'll call them. I've called two today already. It's still early in the day. 2 today already. And they'll usually say, I know you won't call me back, but here's my number. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Boom. What's it going to take me? I make in my mind, this will take 10 minutes. Okay, what are you thinking? This is what I think. You should get this book called Jesus Calling. It's a devotional. Okay, start there. Let God start feeding your life. This is what I love to do.
Oh.
I love to do that.
Your it factor gave me the chill factor. Okay? Like, that's so beautiful. Oh, this has been so good.
I like talking to you.
Oh, I love talking to you.
I'm excited about your podcast. I'm excited.
you.
So because I have my own show, I have my own show in the airports. I'm in 79 airports
Yes.
around the world. First person to ever do their own personal
Come
talk show
on.
in the world on Reach TV. So I'm fairly good at asking questions. So I want to ask you a question on your podcast.
Yeah.
What are you excited about? Like, what's unfolding in you? What is unfolding? God says, I know the end from the beginning. I know what is yet to unfold. What's unfolding in you right now?
I am letting the Holy Spirit take over. And for so long, there's been like this, I'm there with him. It's there, but then there's been resistance.
Yes.
And now I truly feel like I am unleashing for that girl that needs to break free from her strongholds.
Yes.
And I'm really speaking in my truth.
Yeah.
And I'm not editing parts of myself because I know what I believe.
Yeah.
And if it contradicts the Holy Bible, then that's not what I believe. I know what I believe and I know the truth. And I know that the truth will set you free. As a public person and figuring out my way, I've held back moments, and I'm most excited about unleashing and building myself and expressing myself so I can help set other people free.
Yeah. So,
and that's, yeah.
So stay in that emotion that you're in right now just for a minute. So I'm going to be like your older brother for a minute. So stay in that emotion, because what's happening is that you're becoming more alive in your God idea.
Oh.
We get so caught up in the hybrid of good ideas and God ideas, and something in you just said, no, I don't want just my good. I just want my God idea. Yeah. And so that's what's happening in you. And so you have decided, like never before, to answer the call, to step up and step out, even if there's a deeper price to pay. But because you pay the price, so now I'm going to prophesy over you. Yeah. Because you're paying the price, God's going to take you to faces, places, and spaces that very few people get to go to. Because he sees that he could trust you. So get ready to get blown away.
Let's go. Let's go. Thank you for that, Tim. Thank you. Well, where can people find you? Like,
driving the streets.
Where everyone wants to listen to you speak now. Like, I already know what's happening. They're like, when can I go to his thing? When can I buy? Where?
So I think just Tim Storey, but remember I'm STOREY.com. I'm very proud of my last book, The Miracle Mentality, with HarperCollins, because it's dope. It just talks about having a different mindset, different mentality. Then you can find out where I'm speaking. So timstory.com.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. This has been delightful, and I feel everything right now, and I know the people listening feel it too, and you're such a gift to this world, and I look forward to getting to know you more.
Thank you.
Yeah.